Hey, welcome back to another edition of Money Matters with Matt on Mondays. Today, I want to talk to you about how $17.50 changed my life. And that sounds like a big title, a big thing to say, but I want to tell you a story. Years ago, when my wife and I first got married, we went into life with this idealisms that all things were okay and that we were just going to be fine by just doing what we do. And as we were progressing through life and marriage and finances, we came to these points where our conversations on finances became more and more challenging to have, as I think both of us realized maybe we weren't as good at this money thing as we thought we were going to be, and it was a lot harder than I think we wanted it to be. And we noticed that we kept getting these bills regularly that surprised us and kind of knocked us off our feet. Right as we attempted to get some traction and begin to try to get out of that rat race, we found ourselves knocked off our feet by these surprise payments and bills and things that came up. And we struggled through this, and we would pay off the bill with the MasterCard and then spend the next few weeks trying to pay off the MasterCard only to get another bill, and then we would try to pay that one off, and this cycle seemed to continue and what really happened was that our frustration and our disappointment and our reality began to set in and began to break down communication in what we were speaking and how we were speaking about finances and the things that we were trying to do. In some reality, it actually caused us to lose hope for the future of our finances, going, this will always be our existence, just bill to bill to bill to bill, with no relief in between or in sight, and just this constant hammering that caused us to be stressed out, overwhelmed, confused, quiet, frustrated, and resentful. Because in those moments you begin to get frustrated about how the other person is acting, or you get embarrassed about your actions, like, I went to A&W today and spent $12 on a burger. And you begin to become resentful and embarrassed, and shame sets in. And so this was the cycle we found ourselves in. And a number of years ago, as we were going through some personal development in our own lives as individuals and as a married couple, we came to this realization that we live in cyclical manners, that all things have a cycle, and that we're existing in these cycles regularly. And when it came to our finances, we had this epiphany, this revelation, that these bills that had been surprising us so regularly weren't actually surprising. We just weren't recognizing or preparing for them. These bills were winter tires or summer tires. They were maintenance on our vehicle. They were insurances that were coming up for renewal. They were on hydro or heat, or for us, we have a wood stove, so they were the wood that we had to purchase to be able to heat our house. They were the property taxes and the garbage sewer water bills. They were the family trips that we wanted to go on for like a couple of nights to a hot springs and sit with our kids and enjoy that time in the hot springs as we build those relationships. And what the revelation and epiphany we came to was that these weren't at all surprises. All of these we could very well map out on a calendar year and know exactly when and what they were for, but they felt like a surprise because we weren't aware of them, or we hadn't acknowledged that they would be coming. And so when they came, they felt like an assault on our fortress of personal finances. And we were under attack and just trying to rally the troops of our money to pay this surprise attack or this surprise bill that came up. And I remember it was in February a number of years ago when my wife and I sat at the kitchen table and had this revelation of, these are not surprises. We have just been unprepared. And it took us a moment to digest that, but then it meant we had an actionable step to take. I guess it's time to get prepared. So what we did is something I would encourage you to do. we went through our regular bills that come up. How much are winter tires? How often are we getting them? How about summer tires? Okay. What about maintenance on the vehicle? What about maintenance on the house? When does the property tax come out? When does the hydro come out? When do we pay for wood? And what we found was these bills were really cyclical. They were identifiable, and we could put dollar values to them. And so what we did, and we even put in things like, hey, we want to take a 2-day trip to a hotel with hot springs, and here's the general cost of that and the food expense that goes along with it. And we tallied up all of these numbers, and we found ourselves a total. And we said, this is how much money we need to be preparing each year to be able to deal with the bills, these attacks that come against our personal finances regularly and in a known and knowable fashion. As a result, we took this bigger number, we divided it by 12 so we would have a monthly amount. And then what we did was, for my wife and my case, this might be different for you, we get paid 7 times in a month between her paychecks and my paychecks. And so we took that number that we needed to have per month set aside to cover the annual expenses that came, we divided it by 7, and we said, off of every single time we get paid, every paycheck, we will put this amount into a short-term savings fund so that when those bills come out, we'll be able to pay them because we have the money set aside and prepared to planning for it. So we began to institute this immediately come the following week. We got a paycheck and we took that money and we put it into the short-term savings account. What it meant was that we needed to then realize we were less that in our daily living. But that was okay, because I knew, and we knew together as a team, that that money was there for a specific purpose and couldn't be touched for just random trips to A&W. I remember the first time that we got one of those quote-unquote random bills. And it was for several $100s, not quite $1,000. But I remember receiving that bill and being able to transfer the money to the person we owed money to without touching our personal bank account. We simply used the money that we had prepared and set aside in advance and regularly to deal with these upcoming bills. I remember pressing send on the money transfer and looking at my wife and saying, we just paid that bill and we're not out because of it. I cannot tell you how much of a relief and satisfaction that was to know that we had planned for something that was knowable and we dealt with it in the moment. That little steps in our recent past had paid for something that we knew was coming. We had been planning and preparing for this moment, and we were able to capitalize on it when it came in a way that allowed us and enabled us to pay off this bill in totality without needing to use our MasterCard and go into debt or limit our daily or weekly spending by dipping into our regular bank account. This transformed our life. This amount for us worked out to be $17.50 a day. And it was $17.50 that transformed the way we looked at money and transformed the way that we approach things moving forward. In fact, here are some of the added benefits of it. That $17.50 a day has changed my psychological experience of living in a really incredible way. When those bills come, I am not stressed about paying them. The stress of having to pay a $1,000 bill for new winter tires is removed because of the forethought and planning that went into it. The stress and the overbearing weight of having a debt when you go on a vacation with your family wears on you and your ability to relax and enjoy. I remember the first time we went to the hot springs and we didn't go into debt to pay for the hotel or the food or the travel or the games that we purchased to play with the kids that weekend. I remember going and just being joyous and present and in the moment. I remember being able to spend more time with the kids and less time worried about how much work more I would have to do in the coming weeks and months to try to make up this shortfall of finances and pay for this trip. It meant that I could be available to my kids and more relaxed on my vacation. My ability to sleep at night increased, knowing that if something came up, I wasn't going to be put out because of it. I knew things were coming. That's the nature of life. And so this $17.50 really transformed not only our finances, but it actually transformed the way in which we approached and thought about and pursue elements of our life. Psychologically, it made a significant difference, and I think, and I'm confident, it can do the same for you. Here's what I would do in your position. I would take a moment and I would go through all the monthly or all the bi-monthly and annual payments that you know you have to make. Hydros, taxes, insurances, maintenances. Maybe if you have kids and you want to send them to camps in the summer, you itemize those camps that you want to send them to, and you come up with a grand total for the year of what it will cost to pay those things in advance. And then divide that by 12 to know your monthly amount, and divide that by the number of paychecks that your family brings in. Allocate that money into a separate account within your bank so that you are not tempted to use it. And then when those things come up, it is simple to transfer the money, pay for it, and say, I was prepared for that. I will tell you that this has just absolutely helped us in our pursuit of the financial goals that we have. That these things no longer take the feet out from under us or knock the wind out of us as we work to get out of the rat race, but it is now an added value bonus and benefit of the steps that we're taking to move in the direction that my wife and I have set forth for ourselves and for our family. So, I don't know what your number is, but I am confident that when you find it, it will transform the way in which you view finances, and your stress, and your sleep. Thanks so much for watching today's video. It was great to be with you, and we will see you in the next one.